All right, so when you're playing chess,
Yeah?
the most important thing is trying to capture your opponent's king, right?
Yep, and keeping your king safe.
And keeping your king safe. But there's a lot of the game before that when there's all this stuff in the way and you don't have a good attack on the king yet, and you need a way to evaluate whether a trade is a good trade, whether a move is a good move.
Because you don't... Okay.
So, we know that pawns are the least valuable pieces, right?
Yep.
So we're going to call pawns 1 point of value, okay?
Okay.
So...
Kings are 1,000,000 points.
Kings are 1,000,000 points. That is a true statement. So how much are these other pieces... Here. How much are these other pieces that are in between the king and the pawn worth?
Well, first, there's the bishop, the rook, and the knight.
Yep.
And then there's the queen.
All right.
So the way a lot of people would label it, I think at least,
Okay.
they would put a bishop, knight, rook.
That's really how you think it would go, huh?
Mm-hmm. How do you think it would?
Okay. The standard weighting is like that, or maybe like that, or maybe like that.
Rooks are more important than knights.
So the standard way that people value the pieces is they call a pawn 1 point, bishops and knights 3, rooks 5, queens 9,
Because they're a badass.
and the king 1,000,000.
So you're saying if I could kill with logic, the rook or the bishop with this knight, and this pawn would kill me, which one should I pick?
Okay, so hold on. The pawn should be here, so that is guarding the bishop and the rook. And then you can take either one, and the consequence is that you get taken back.
So the logic is that usually most people would go after the rook. So most people would go after the rook.
Yes. So,
And why?
let's talk about why this is a little bit, okay?
Maybe it's because the rook is the only one who can castle.
No. Come here.
Okay. Yes.
So, part of what you look at is how many squares can the piece attack, right? So the rook here can attack, well, it's in 1 square, and it can attack 7 squares horizontally and 7 squares vertically. So that is 14 squares it can attack.
Okay, but how many can the bishop attack?
All right, so we put a bishop down, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on one diagonal, and 7 on the other diagonal. And so that is 13. So that is 1 less than the rook. But here's the thing. That is with the bishop in the center. If the bishop is on the side, now it can only attack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares, which is half as powerful as a rook.
Oh!
But with the rook, it doesn't matter whether it's in the middle. It still can do a whole vertical and a whole horizontal. Or if it's in a corner, it can still do a whole vertical and a whole horizontal. And if you put this bishop all the way in the corner, it can only attack 7 squares. And as you come it out, we move it to here and we get to add 2. And we move it, so that's 9, and we move it to here and we add 2 more. And that's 11. And then you get to the center squares, and that's 13. That's where it's most powerful. That's where it affects the most of the board.
So, and the knight can attack 8 squares.
That was very quick. So come here.
What?
I want you to put the black pawns down everywhere that knight can attack. All right, missing one. Oh, there it is. All right. Now, I want you to put the white pawns everywhere that knight can attack.
There.
All right. So a knight in its home square can only attack 3 other squares. A knight in the middle of the board, close as it can be, can attack 8 other squares. And as you get close to the edge, then you can attack 6 other squares. Or less as you get close to the corner. So the rook is reliable. He is always worth 14 points.
Okay.
Oh, no, always able to attack 14 squares. But the bishop and the knight, they are more valuable when they're in the middle than they are when they're on the edge.
Hello.
All right, Jewel.
Yeah.
Quick review of that lesson. How many points is a pawn worth?
1 point.
How many points is a knight worth?
A knight is worth 8 points.
Incorrect.
Huh?
A knight can attack 8 squares. I used the wrong words. I got you mixed up. I accept blame for saying what I said that got you mixed up. A knight is worth 3 points. Remember me saying that now?
Oh, because it can move 3 squares.
No. Just because somebody lined them up and decided that's how much they're worth, and people kind of pretty much agreed, and it has been worked out through 200 years of practice.
No, 500.
Okay, 500.
Just in
I don't know when they started adding. I don't know when the point value thing came about. This isn't a history class. You want it to be a history class?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
So how many points is a bishop worth when you're trading pieces?
13 points. What?
I messed you up, and I am sorry.
You did all this counting of the squares.
I did all this counting of the squares they could attack to show how they were more valuable in some positions than in others. And when I did it, you got points mixed up in your head, and it was a mistake. I'm sorry. All right, so let's try this again. With
Shut up.
when it is.
I am putting it in the order I put them in. So, well, this is the order you put them in.
That is correct. And we could also say like that.
It makes it... Huh?
Nothing. Okay.
Are you trying to mess me up again, Bob?
How many points is the pawn worth?
1 point.
Correct. How many points are the knight and the bishop worth?
Okay. So the knight... 3.
3 points.
Bishop 4.
No.
Why
The
is it?
knight and the bishop. That's why I tried to put them next to each other, but you got freaking annoyed at me.
Okay,
The knight and the
fine.
bishop are the same value.
Okay.
They are worth 3 points.
Okay. The rook is worth 5 points?
5 points.
How do you go from 3 to 5?
Because you won't trade a rook for a bishop, and you won't trade a rook for a knight, but you might trade a rook for a knight and 2 pawns. It's pretty close. You'd almost definitely trade a rook for both the knight and the bishop.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. How many points is the queen worth?
9.
9 points. That is correct. And how much is the king worth?
1 million.
1,000,000 points.
Infinity.
That is 100% correct.
Infinity.
So, when it comes time to trade, you set up the thing, you set up a piece in the middle, it's got some good attacks, I set up a piece attacking it, you go, do I want to take that piece even though I'm going to get taken back? This is how you decide. This is a good thumb rule to help you decide which pieces are worth trading and which are not.
If it's a king, yes!
If it's a king, take it, because it's 1,000,000 points.
If it's queen, still do it. Rook, you're getting a little lower, but probably do it, depending on what piece it is. Because if it's a queen, no. It depends on what piece that you're attacking with.
Yes, it totally depends on which piece you're attacking with and which piece you're getting.
Because if just act like they're on the opposite teams. If the queen takes this rook,
Hang on.
it will be totally not worth it to be taken by a pawn.
That is correct. Now, there are times that will not be true, because sometimes when the queen takes the rook and the other guy takes with the pawn, it opens up some opportunity for you to make an attack on the king that wasn't there before. Or maybe it creates an opportunity for a pawn to get across, and that would be good and helpful. So there are times that you can sacrifice your queen, but they are not most of the time. Most of the time, if we say the queen is worth 9 points, the rook is worth 5 points, the bishop and the knight are worth 3 points each, and the pawn is worth 1 point, and you do the math, you can determine whether a trade is fair or not.
Okay, I'm gonna roll